on the heels of Facebook. Remember Facebook filtering out comments from conservatives in its news feeds and things like this? You know, Facebook has been extremely biased in what it considers a violation of their community standards and hate speech and whatever. You could say just about anything against Donald Trump or Republicans on Facebook and get away with it. You can't say just about anything about Hillary Clinton or Democrats. It's a massive double standard. And on top of all of this, now one of its co-founders planning on giving $20 million to the Democrats to help Hillary Clinton get elected. Whew. All right. Dan Gainers, Vice President of Business and Culture for Media Research Center, joins me now. Dan, thanks for being with us today.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. And
hey, thanks.
You're so right to connect those two things.
I know. You know what? You think about it. You're right, because they are connected. And now, on top of all of this, The Hill is reporting today, as you know, Facebook is going to be involved in the sourcing of questions online for the Trump-Clinton debate, for the second debate, the ABC CNN. How can Facebook not be ordered to be recused from this completely when they're giving their co-founders giving $20 million to help Hillary Clinton get elected?
Well, he's no longer technically involved with the company, and that's
okay. Well, in that case.
And then also remember, Facebook and Twitter are both involved now in this international group that wants to limit what they call false news. And this is one of those things that sounds really good on the face of it. Oh, because I don't know anybody who doesn't run across bogus reports in their news feed saying, Donald Trump is a three-headed alien, or Hillary Clinton, was arrested for treason in 1967 or something. Just really ridiculous things that we all know are bogus, but we don't have to. And in theory, if Snopes were legitimate, or if these PolitiFact things were legitimate, they would help sorting all that out. But they're not. So Twitter and Facebook are supposed to be working toward that. The thing is, that's going to be used against conservatives. You absolutely do, just like the old Facebook news feed was used against conservatives. Oh, well, we don't think that's a legitimate story. Look at all the Hillary health concerns. Try finding them on, Google a couple weeks ago.
Right. Right. Well, I'll tell you, Dan, as I was telling my audience, just try to, on the health thing, just imagine for a moment, just hypothetically, let's reverse everything between Hillary and Donald Trump. Just imagine that Donald Trump was having to end interviews and end whatever because he couldn't stop coughing, that there were photographs of him being helped upstairs, that you had a Republican senator saying in a hacked and released email that, boy, he could barely even walk up to the podium, and then on a 79-degree day, collapses, and then the argument is, well, it was just from overheating on a 79-degree breezy day, and then after several hours, it's like, well, okay, it's really pneumonia. And this is somebody who said, oh, by the way, I couldn't even remember national security briefings from a concussion that I had. If you had something like that going on with Donald Trump, and you had images of him collapsing and being helped up and trouble walking, oh my goodness, how would the press be treating this, and how strong would the demand be for his full medical records to be released?
Well, I mean, they would have driven him from the election if they could have, just like they did with Eagleton. Oh, wait, he's been under mental health treatment. Okay, he's gone. And the media, that was back in the era when the media actually went after people on the left. They don't now. They don't want to go after Hillary for this. And honestly, the only reason her health finally came out as an issue has nothing to do with the major media. It was because there was video. And when the video came out, they couldn't ignore it. The video is so embarrassing for her. You can see her standing there with her head bobbing like it's a bobblehead, and then she collapses, has to be lifted into the SUV by 3 people. Well, you can't dodge it. You can't hide that anymore. So they then still hid her for 90 minutes. Then she magically came out and suddenly invigorated and said, oh, I'm entirely fine. Then they said, oh, wait, after she hugged the little kid, then they said, oh, she's had pneumonia since Friday. And, wait a second, Bill Clinton doesn't seem to think she has pneumonia. No, he seems to think she has the flu.
Right.
It's almost like they couldn't even get on the same page about their lives.
I know.
But the media don't want to depict it that way. And,
Well, think about this, Dan. You got CBS trying to get away with editing out Bill Clinton saying frequently and then converting frequently to the word rarely, which something that I think got lost in a lot of the media coverage of this is not just the removing of the word frequently, but how diametrically opposed the meanings of those two words are. Okay, frequently is not a synonym for rarely. I mean, I can see if somebody says, she always, well, maybe not always, but mostly. Okay, that could be. That was an exaggerated word. But to go from frequently to rarely, you can't sit there and go, 90% of the time. No, it's more like 10. No. You're now at the opposite bookend of this. For him to go frequently and rarely, number one, I think that was news. But then number two, certainly them editing it out is it's part of the example.
When you're reading the Washington Post and they list she's had 3 different blood clots. That's a serious thing.
Right.
I mean, I know that she's 68, and according to actuarial tables, she'd outlive Trump. But Trump certainly seems vigorous, and she seems not vigorous. Campaign is hard. Right. Campaign's hard on people. And what's embarrassing here is the only reason the American media are pursuing this is because of conservatives. Conservatives forced this out into the open. And they got an event where she had a couple different instances where they couldn't hide it anymore. But
now,
if it hadn't been for that video, the media would still tell us that she had simply gotten overheated and left the event.
Right, so true. All right, now, real quick, we got just about a minute left. I'm curious to get your take on something as well. The presidential debate's coming up. As you know, there's going to be 4 debates, 3 presidential and 1 vice presidential, and the 5 moderators for these have been named. 4 of the 5 moderators are basically liberal Democrats from the liberal press, and then one of them is Chris Wallace, of course, from Fox News. And so this has become such a big news story that, wow, Fox News is represented here. Chris Wallace is in there. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, I'm glad to see that at least somebody that can be argued to possibly lean right is now at least representing 20% of the moderators instead of the usual 0%. But imagine if this were the other way around. Imagine if there were 5 moderators named, and the 5 moderators, we'll say Brit Hume, Chris Wallace, Megyn Kelly, Bret Baier, and then for good measure, Wolf Blitzer was thrown in there too. The Democrats would never in a million years accept this, but the rest of conservatives in this country, Dan, we're just so used to having lopsidedness in favor of Democrats that we're celebrating that, hey, Fox News is allowed in there now. But I'm thinking, no, 20%'s not right.
No, after this election, the right, particularly the Republican Party, need to get together and say, we're not going to accept the way debates are done anymore.
Right.
Not ever. Not in 2014, not 2016, not for any election at any level. And here's how we're going to do it. We're going to have moderators who do everything by the book, and then we're going to have questioners who are from the left and the right.
Right, absolutely. And that's what the Republican Party needs to do. They need to demand it, absolutely demand it. And I could not agree with you more. You know how, look, the way liberals think is that a 4-on-1 fight, they consider that a fair fight. A 2-on-2 fight, they would go crazy. They would think that I said this to my audience the other day. If ABC changed the lineup on The View and had Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar on one side and then put Michelle Malkin and Ann Coulter on the other side and did a 2-on-2, most liberals in this country would say ABC's gone all right wing. And it's like, wait a minute, that's actually 50-50, but they would perceive that as right wing somehow. So what are you going to do, I guess? Folks, Media Research Center on the web at mrc.org. Dan Gaynor. Dan, we always appreciate your analysis. Thanks for being with us today.